Part 4 of Prometheus Bound by Aeschylus, translated by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Io enters.
What land is this? What people is here? And who is he who writhes, I see, in the rock-hung chain? Now what is the crime that hath brought thee to pain? And what is the land? Make answer free, which I wander through in my wrong and fear. Ah me! The gadfly stingeth to agony. O earth, keep off that phantasm pale of earth-born Argus. Ah, I quail when my soul descries that herdsman with the myriad eyes, which seem, as he comes, one crafty eye. Graves hide him not, though he should die, but he doggeth me in my misery. From the roots of death, on high, and along the sands of the siding deep, all famine-worn, he follows me, and his waxen reed doth undersound the waters round, and giveth a measure that giveth sleep. Woe, woe, woe! Where shall my weary course be done? What wouldst thou with me, Saturn's son? And in what have I sinned, that I should go, thus yoked to grief by thine hand for ever? Ah, dost vex me so, that I madden and shiver, stung through with dread, flash the fire down, to burn me, heave the earth up, to cover me, or plunge me in the deep with the salt waves over me, where the sea beasts may be fed. And, O King, do not spurn me in my prayer, for this wandering, ever longer, evermore, hath overworn me, and I know not on what shore I may rest from my despair.
Hearest thou what the ox-horned maiden saith?
How could I choose but hearken what she saith, the frenzied maiden, Enahosh's child, who love warms Zeus's heart, and now is lashed by Heres' hate along the unending ways?
Who taught thee to articulate that name? My father's? Speak to his child, by grief and shame defiled. Who art thou, victim thou, who dost acclaim mine anguish in true words on the wide air, and callest to my name the curse that came from here unaware, to waste and pierce me with the maddening goad? Ah, I leap with the pang of the hungry, I bound on the road, I am driven by my doom, I am overcome by the wrath of an enemy strong and deep. Are any of those who have tasted pain, alas, as sad as I? Now tell me plain, doth aught remain for my soul to endure beneath the sky? Is there any help to be holpen by? If knowledge be in thee, let it be said. Cry aloud, cry to the wandering, woeful maid.
All thou wouldst learn I will make clear to thee. No riddle upon my lips, but such straight words as friends should use to each other when they talk. Thou seest, Prometheus, who gave mortals fire.
O common help of all men, known of all, O miserable Prometheus, for what cause dost thou endure thus?
I have done with wail for my own griefs, but lately.
Wilt thou not vouchsafe this boon to me?
Say which thou wilt, for I vouchsafe all.
Speak then, and reveal who shut thee in this chasm.
The will of Zeus, the hand of his Hephaestus.
And what crime does expiate so?
I have told enough for thee, in so much only.
Nay, but show besides the limit of my wandering, and the time which yet is lacking to fill my grief.
Why, not to know were better than to know, for such as thou.
Beseech thee, blind me not to that which I must suffer.
If I do, the cause is not because I grudge the boon.
What is the cause, then? Mars thy speaking out?
No grudging, but a fear to break thine heart.
Less care for me, I pray thee. Certainty I count for sweetness.
Thou wilt have it so, and therefore I must speak. Now hear.
Not yet. Give half the sweetness my way. Let us learn, first, what the curse is that befell this maid. Her own voice, telling her own wasting woes. For what remains of anguish? let it wait the teaching of thy lips.
It doth behoove that thou, maid Io, should vouchsafe to these the grace they pray, and more, because they are called thy father's sisters. Since to open out and mourn out grief, where it is possible to draw a tear from the audience, is a work that pays its own price well.
I cannot choose, but trust you, nymphs, and tell you all ye ask, in clear words, though I sob amid my speech, in speaking of the storm curse sent from Zeus, and of my beauty, from which height it took its swoop on me, poor wretch, left thus deformed and monstrous to your eyes. For evermore around my virgin chamber wandering went the nightly visions, and entreated me with syllabled smooth sweetness. Blessed maid, why lengthen out the maiden hours, when fate permits the noblest spousal in the world? For Zeus burns with the arrow of thy love, and fain would touch thy beauty, and for thee, girl, spurn not Zeus, but fly to Lerné's mead, that's green around thy father's flocks and stalls, until the passion of the heavenly eye be quenched in sight. Such dreams did, all night long, constrain me unhappy, till I dared to tell my father how they trod the dark with visionary steps, whereat he sent his frequent heralds to the Pythian fane, and also to Dodona, and inquired how best by act or speech to please the gods, and these returning brought back oracles of doubtful sense, indefinite response, dark to interpret. Then at last there came to Inachus an answer that was clear, thrown straight as any bolt, and spoken out, this: he should drive me from my home and land, and bid me wander to the extreme verge of all the earth, or, if he willed it not, should have a thunder with a fiery eye leap straight from Zeus, to burn up all his race to the last root of it, by which Toxean word subdued he drove me forth, and shut me out. He loth, me loth, but Zeus's forceful bit compelled him to the deed, and instantly my body and soul were changed and distraught, and horned as ye see, and spurred along by the fanged insect, with a maniac leap I rushed on to Cenchrea's limpid stream, and Lerné's fountain well, and there the earth-born, the herdsman Argus, most immitigable of wrath, did find me out, and track me out, with countless eyes yet staring at my steps, and unexpected and most sudden doom drew him from life, but I, curse-stricken still, am driven from land to land before the scourge that gods hold o'er me. So thou hast heard the past, and if the bitter future thou canst tell, speak on. I charge thee, do not flatter me through pity with false words, for in my mind deceiving works more shame than torturing.
Hush, silence here. Nevermore, nevermore would I languish for the stranger's word to thrill mine ear. Nevermore for the wrong and the woe and the fear, so hard to behold and so hard to bear, to pierce my soul with a double-edged sword, and a sliding cold. Ah, fate! Ah, me! I shudder to see this wondering maid in her agony.
Grief is too quick in thee, and fear too full. Be patient till thou hast learnt the rest.
Speak, teach. To those who are sad already, it seems sweet, by clear foreknowledge, to make perfect pain.
The boon ye asked me first was lightly won, for first ye asked to hear this maiden's grief, as her own lips might tell it. Now remains to list what other sorrows she so young must bear from here. Enahosh's child, O thou, drop down thy soul, my weighty words, and measure thence the landmarks which are set. To end thy wandering toward the orient sun, first turn thy face from mine, and journey on along the desert flats, till thou shalt come where Scythia's shepherd peoples dwell aloft, perched in wheeled wagons under woven roofs, and twang the rapid arrow past the bow. Approach them not, but aiding in thy course the rugged shore rocks sounding from the sea, depart that country. On the left hand dwell the iron workers, called the Chalybes, of whom beware, for certes they are stern, and no wise bland to strangers. Reaching so the stream Hubristes, well, the scorner called, attempt no passage, it is hard to pass, or ere thou come to Caucasus itself, the highest of mountains, where the river's strength is jutted from the heights, and thou must climb these mountain tops that neighbor with the stars, and tread the southward way, and near, at last, the Amazonian host that hateth man. Who shall inhabit the Miskra? Close upon Thermodon, where the sea's rough jaw doth gnash at Salmydessus, and provide a cruel host to seamen, and to ships, a step-dame harsh, the same shall lead thee on with unreluctant hand, till thou shalt drive just where the ocean gates show narrowest, on the Cimmerian isthmus, leaving which behooves thee swim with ghostly fortitude that strait Moetus. Ay, and evermore that traverse shall be famous on men's lips, that strait called Bosphorus, the horned one's road, so named because of thee. Thou so wilt pass from Europe's plain to Asia's continent. How think ye, nymphs, the king of gods appears impartial in his violent deeds? For lo, the god desirous of this mortal's love hath cursed her with these wanderings. Ah, fair child, thou hast met a bitter groom for bridal troth, for all thou yet hast heard can only prove the incompleted prelude of thy doom.
Ah! Ah!
Is't thy turn now to shriek and moan? How wilt thou, when thou hast hearkened what remains?
Besides the grief thou hast told, can aught remain?
A sea of foredoomed evil worked to storm.
What boots my life then? Why not cast myself down headlong from this miserable rock that dashed against the flats? I may redeem my soul from sorrow. Better once to die than day by day to suffer.
Verily, it would be hard for thee to bear my woe, for whom it is appointed not to die. For death redeems from woe. And now I see, in all my far prevision, not a bound to all I suffer, ere that Zeus shall fall from being a king.
And can it ever be that Zeus shall fall from empire?
Thou, methinks, would take some joy to see it.
Could I choose, I, who endure such pangs now, by that Zeus?
Learn from me, therefore, that the event shall be.
By whom shall his imperial sceptred hand be emptied so?
Himself shall spoil himself through his imprudent counsels.
How? Declare, unless the word bring evil.
He shall wed, and in the marriage bond be joined to grief.
A heavenly bride, or human? Speak it out, if it be utterable.
Why should I say which? It ought not to be uttered, verily.
Then it is his wife shall tear him from his throne?
It is his wife shall bear a son to him, more mighty than the father.
From this doom hath he no refuge?
None, or ere that I, loosed from these fetters.
Yea, but who shall loose thee while Zeus is adverse?
One who is born of thee. It is ordained so.
What is this thou sayest? A son of mine shall loose thee from thy woe?
After 10 generations, count 3 more, and find him in the third.
The oracle remains obscure.
And search it not to learn thine own griefs from it.
Point me not to a good, to leave me straight bereaved.
I am prepared to grant thee one of two things.
But which two? Set them before me, grant me power to choose.
I grant it. Choose, if I shall name aloud, what griefs remain to wound thee, or what hand shall save me out of mine.
Vouchsafe, O God, the one grace of the twain to her who prays, the next to me, and turn back neither prayer, dishonoured by denial. Thus to her declare the future wanderings of her feet, then point me to the looser of thy chain, because I yearn to know it.
Since ye will, of absolute will, this knowledge, I will set no contrary against it, nor keep back a word of all ye ask for. Io, first, to thee I must recount thy wandering course far winding. As I tell it, write it down in thy soul's book of memories, when thou hast passed the flowing bound that parts two continents. Track on the footsteps of the Orient sun, in his own fire, across the roar of seas. Fly till thou hast reached the Gorgonian flats. Beside Sistine, there the Phorcides, three ancient maidens, live with shape of swan, one tooth between them and a common eye, on whom the sun doth never look at all, with all his rays, nor evermore the moon, when she looks through the night. And nigh to these the Gorgon sisters three, and clothed with wings, and wearing snakes for curls, and man abhorred, there is no mortal gazes in their face, and gazing can breathe on. I speak of such to guard thee from their horror. Ay, and list another tale of a dreadful sight. Beware the griffins, those unbarking dogs of Zeus, those sharp-mouthed dogs in the Arimasapian host, one-eyed, that moves on horseback, habiting beside the river that runs bright with gold, the stream of Pluto. Near them not. Anon thou shalt come to a distant land, a dusky tribe of dwellers at the fountain of the sun, whence flows the river Aethiops. Wind along its banks and turn off at the cataracts, just as the Nile pours from the Bybline hills his holy and sweet wave. His course shall guide thine own to that triangular Nile ground, where Io is ordained for thee and thine, a distant exile. Have I said in this aught darkly or incompletely? Now repeat the question, make the knowledge full. Behold, I have more leisure than I covet here.
If thou canst tell us aught that's left untold, or loosely told of her most dreary flight, declare it straight. But if thou hast uttered all, grant us that latter grace for which we prayed, remembering how we prayed it.
She has heard the fullness of the wandering of her woe, but that she may have knowledge not to have heard all vainly. I will tell what she endured ere coming hither, and invoke the past to prove my prescience true, and so to leave all crowd of jostling words, and pass at once to the first step of thy course, when thou hadst gone to those Molossian plains which sweep around Dodona, shouldering heaven, or at the fane of Zeus, thus Procyon keepeth oracle, and wander past belief. The oaks do wave articulate adjurations. Ay, and they did so salute thee in no phrase perplexed, but clear with glory, noble wife of Zeus, who shouldst be. Here some sweetness took thy sense. Thou didst rush further onward, stung along the ocean shore toward Rhea's mighty bay, and tossed back from it, wert tossed to it again, in stormy evolution, and know well, in coming time, that hollow of the sea shall bear the name Ionian, and present a monument of Io's passage through unto all mortals. These words be the signs of my soul's power to look beyond the veil of visible things. The rest to you and her I will declare in common audience, nymphs. Returning thither where my speech brake off, there is a town, Canobus, built upon the earth's far margin at the mouth of Nile, and on the mound washed up by it. Io, there shall Zeus give back to thee thy perfect mind, and only by the touch and by the stroke of his undreadful hand. And thou shalt bear a dusky son to Zeus, who shall be called thence Epaphus the Touched. That son shall pluck the fruit from all that land wide watered by the flow of flooding Nile, and counting from his life the 5th full generation, which involves full 50 maidens, a fair woman race, shall back to Argos turn reluctantly, to fly the proffered nuptials of their kin, their father's brothers. But they, passion-struck, like falcons bearing hard on flying doves, shall drive on, hunting on that quarry of love. They shall not hunt till envious heaven shall lay a curse betwixt that beauty and their desire, and Greece receive them, to be overcome in murderous woman-war by fierce red hands, round which the night keeps watch. For every wife shall slay her husband, dying deep in blood, the sword of double edges. Now do I wish as fair a marriage joy to all my foes. One bride alone shall fail to smite to death the head upon her pillow, touched with love, and blunted in her purpose, and impelled to choose the lesser evil, and prefer the wearing on her cheeks the coward's shame to blood-guilt on her hands. She shall give birth to a royal race in Argos. Tedious speech were needed to speak clearly and at large of these things. 'Tis enough that from this seed shall spring the strong he, famous with the bow, whose arm shall break my fetters off. Behold, my mother Themis, that old Titaness, instructed me in this oracular truth. But how and when I should be long to speak, and thou, in hearing, wouldst not gain at all.
Allelu, Allelu! How the spasm and the pain, and the fire on the brain, strike, burning me through! How the sting of the curse, all aflame as it flew, pricks me onward again! How my heart, in its terror, is spurning my breast, and my eyes, like the wheels of a chariot, roll round. I am whirled from my course, to the east, to the west, in the whirlwind of frenzy all madly enwound. And my mouth is unbridled for anguish and hate, and my words beat in vain, in wild storms of unrest, on the sea of my desolate fate.
Chorus. Strophe.
O wisest of the wise is he, who first within his spirit knew, and with his tongue declared it true, that love comes best, that comes unto the equal of degree, and that the poor and the low should seek no love from those above, whose souls are fluttered with the flow of airs about their golden height, or proud because they see a row ancestral crowns of light.
Antistrophe.
Oh, never, never may ye fates behold me with your awful eyes, lift mine too fondly up the skies, where Zeus upon the purple waits, nor let me step too near to any suitor bright from heaven, because I see, because I fear this loveless maiden vexed and laden by this fell curse of Hera, driven on wanderings dread and drear.
Epode.
Nay, grant an equal troth instead of nuptial love to bind me by. It will not hurt, I shall not dread to meet it in reply. And let not love from those above revert and fix me as I said, with that inevitable eye. I have no sword to fight that fight, I have no strength to tread that path. I know not if my nature hath the power to bear. I cannot see whether from Zeus's infinite I can have power to flee.
Yet Zeus, howbeit most absolute of will, shall turn to meekness. Such a marriage rite he holds in preparation, which anon shall thrust him headlong from his garrant seat, and leave no track behind. And so the curse his father Cronos muttered in his fall, as he fell from his ancient throne and cursed, shall be accomplished wholly. No escape from all this ruin shall the filial Zeus have granted to him from one of all his gods, unless I teach it, I the refuge, no, and I the means. Now therefore let him sit and brave the imminent doom, and fix his faith on his supernal noises, hurtling on with the restless hand the bolt that breathes out fire. For these things shall not help him, none of them, nor hinder his perdition when he falls to shame, and lower than patience. Such a foe he doth himself prepare against himself, a wonder of unconquerable hate, a new deviser of a nobler fire than shines in lightnings, and of grander sound than aught the thunder rolls, out-thundering it, of power to shatter in Poseidon's fist the trident spear, which, while it plagues the sea, doth shake the shores around it. Ay, and Zeus, by this destruction lost, shall meet at length the gulf which severs rule from servitude.
Thou makest threats for Zeus of thy desires.
I tell you, all these things shall be fulfilled, as also I desire them.
Must we, then, look out for one to come, to master Zeus?
These chains weigh lighter than his sorrows shall.
How art thou not afraid to speak such words?
What should I fear, who cannot die?
But he can visit thee with dreader woe than death's.
Why, let him do it. I am here, prepared for all things and their pangs.
The wise are they who reverence Oresteia.
Reverence thou, adore thou, flatter thou, whomever reigns, whenever reigning. But for me, your Zeus is less than nothing. Let him act and reign his brief hour out according to his will. He will not, therefore, rule the gods too long. But lo, I see that courier god of Zeus, that new-made menial of the new-crowned king. He doubtless comes to tell us something new.
End of part 4.